What? The package open, gotta free it in a hurry.
Hey.
Drop it in a seam, snap a pick and spit a bar flurry. The spinning racks need refill, but I'm really not worried.
Okay.
It's the most beautiful thing in the words of Keith Murray. Shipping out in a low and slow-mo tipping.
Ooh.
Just one tap and it hops up like pogo sticking. This is not a put together, like robo chipping.
Wow.
Still original condition, number match, no parts missing.
Right.
Willowbrook and Alondra pullover right there. At the Made in Compton Store, I can get something to wear. For men, women, and children, all prices fair.
Thank you.
Got fresh top to bottom. And I slid up out of there, hops right back in the low looking like new money.
Sure do.
Stare all you want, but can't take none from me. Ain't none bouts this cute, sweet, nor funny.
Nope.
Outside in a low ride, rain, sleet, or sunny.
Cool.
The back window's still empty, ain't earned a plaque yet. Not a renegade rider. Hub City was set. Until next time, one thing you can bet. I'll be on my grind double time, pushing a line extra shine drips wet. And you ain't seen none yet.
That was incredible. Much respect.
Yeah, I'd like to welcome everybody back to Bone with Friends. Tonight, I got the legendary DJ Master, Rick Rock. Rick Rock, what's up with you?
Oh man, how in the heaven are you, my brother?
Oh, man, I'm good and yourself.
Terribly well, I must say.
Okay, we're going to jump right into it. Where did you grow up at?
I grew up in the city of Hawthorne.
Absolutely. So what was it like what was it like in Compton when you was a kid?
Well, I didn't get a chance to spend a whole lot of time in Compton. I grew up, like I say, I grew up in Hawthorne, but the part of Hawthorne that I grew up in has become a very iconic area for West Coast hip hop. Some of the founding members from my city is Ice Cube, Dub C. We all from the same neighborhood. DJ Pooh is from around the way, from right around the corner from me. Deadly Threat, the producer, Slip, who I came up under, who discovered MC8, and there's a list of other talent that came from my area that hip hop wouldn't be what it is today if not for our legacy and the work that my area put in.
Man. So what made you first fall in love with music and producing beats?
Well, I grew up, I had an early influence. I had a cousin that was actually a trombonist for the group Cameo, and he used to spend time at the house. And I remember he came back from Japan being on tour, and he let me take the first Sony Walkman to school when I was a kid. The cassette tape, that was like the first generation of it. And then we had a VIP Records around the corner from my house on Imperial and Crenshaw. And he had spawned from Cameo to MCB and created his own group. And one time I remember him walking me in the VIP record store with the incense and everything blazing and showing me his record on the shelves at VIP Records. So that was my first instance. And then when I was 14, my mother asked me what did I want for my birthday, and I told her 2 turntables and a mixer. And that was inspired by listening to a DJ named Magic Mike, who was doing the mix show on KJLH, and the rest is history.
Nice. So how did you first connect with MC8 and Compton Most Wanted?
Well, I mean, there was a lot of history before that. So say I started in 84, 83, I was 14, and then there's a history of being hip hop and everything growing and evolving. I didn't really meet 8 until 89 when we did a Compton compilation album through Lonzo, who discovered Dr. Dre, and then the whole Ice Cube thing came from under that. Lonzo and a guy named Unknown, they backed the Compton compilation project that Slip had a lot of underground MCs at the time, and I was with a group. Me and Jolly Joe was a group in CMW. We were all on the same album, and it was called the Compton Compilation Sound Control Mob Under Investigation. It was interesting that my daughter and Joe's son found out that we were artists by Kendrick Lamar showing the album on one of his interviews and saying that was his inspiration. And his son, my daughter, found out that our involvement in hip hop. So that was in '89 that I actually met 8 and we've done a lot of shows together.
Oh, nice. So how would you describe the first beat you made?
Uh, I can't remember the actual first beat, but I know that, um, okay, early on, before they had sampling and everything else, I had came into my rappers, the rappeteers. We had discovered on YouTube they was making beats with the 808 drum machine, and they was out. They actually went out and acquired the 808 drum machine and brought it to me one day, and then I learned how to program it, and that's how the first beats I made was on the 808 drum machine. Then the next stage of it was a little later. Uh, I needed a 4 track because we used to record to make the beats, and then we recorded on a 4 track or 8 track tape recorder. And I got my first actual 8 track recorder from uh, DJ Pooh. He had by this time started his record label called The Bomb Records, and he told me to come out to the studio, and I went and hung out with him all day one day. And at the end of the session, I followed him to his house, and he presented. He said, "Come on here." And I followed him to his backyard. And he went in his garage and gave me an 8 track and said, "Here goes something to help you help yourself." So that's the first way that I was able to record the beats and everything, record the beats and the MCs. And we didn't have a sampler, so I had to loop the track by hand manually before it was a sampler. Yeah.
So after that first beat, did you realize that you wanted to actually make it become your career?
Yeah, I bought into hip hop. I bought into hip hop when I became a DJ. When I got my first turntables at 14 years old, and then by 15, it was iconic because I had 1200s at the age of 15, and there were other established DJs that didn't have 1200s. So it was like it's almost like having a pair of Daytons at 15 years old. You know, like you got your first car, and your first car, you get some Daytons. If you understand the significance of what that would mean in that time frame, that's how Technic 1200s were. And the DJs I came up around, uh, they were like very influential, but it was a big step for me to have 12. So I bought into hip hop early on. We didn't know what it was because hip hop was still being introduced to the West Coast between 80 and 85. So there was no such thing as a West Coast quote unquote hip hop producer. There was no sound. This was all virgin territory.
Nice. So it's safe to say you one of the pioneers.
I would consider myself definitely first generation West Coast hip hop.
Oh man, must applaud that. So what was the studio like when you was recording with Compton Most Wanted? I mean, what was the vibe like?
Well, by then, we're talking about late 80s, early 90s. Uh, Technology had advanced. You went from the 808 to the SP12 to the SP1200. Then they had another drum machine called the DMX. And then the real game changer was the MPC 60. So around the early 1990s, Slip was like one of the first producers to have all of those all of those drum machines. And um, when Eight went on the road, when they went on the road one time in the early 90s, I approached Slip to let me use the MPC when they was on the road, and he allowed me to use it. And I brought it home, and I still remember vividly to this day. I turned it on, and I'm still where I'm recording from right now is the same room, almost the same place where I broke the manual up and I read the manual from cover to cover and learned how to make my first beat.
Well, I'm gonna have to change this question. I was gonna ask you how did West Coast music influence your sound, but you being first generation, what actually influenced your sound?
Well, first, being a DJ is one aspect of it, but I say growing up in my neighborhood uh, and growing up in a gang related environment, I would say oldies is definitely a significant player in the sound because people sampled later in um, growing up on Mary Wells and the Trees and the Delphonics and you know all of those great musical groups that came out from the oldies is what was the foundation of inspiring, like, damn, I want to make some dope music like that, or sample it and make a dope hit.
Yes. So, what lessons did you learn early on from the music industry?
Well, most important, hold on one second, hold on. Um, what was your question? I'm sorry.
Said early on, what lessons did you learn from the music industry?
I guess the most important is be true to yourself and honor and respect those who are helping you, because it's a lot of times it's not so much about you. Uh, Artists sometimes get caught up thinking that they're so dope, and and that's not so much the case. It's the people who are around you who have connections and relationships that can make things happen a lot faster than you anticipated. You could be dope, but if you don't know nobody to make some moves for you, it's really challenging for things to happen for you. And I remember early on where certain people might have helped get me a drum machine or do certain things, and in hindsight, maybe I could have done better in that relationship. But that's to me, the most important thing is just being true to relationships and really getting out there and believing in yourself, working hard and doing what's necessary. And then the biggest thing is don't give up on your dream.
Well, absolutely. We're gonna go to a quick commercial break and we'll be right back with some more questions.
Yes, I'm here at Made in Compton Store. Getting a gift for my homegirl. She, happy birthday. from Made in Compton Store. Yeah.
Step into the store, feel the vibe so pure. Young Christian, eternal faith, love's the only cure. Wear your hope on your sleeve, let your spirit glow. Support the youth, let their dreams grow. Young Christian, eternal faith.
So Rick Rock, what role do storytelling play in the music you help create?
Well, I think it's a very important role because it actually allows people to have a glimpse of to see what really happens in our environment right now, or like in the past. That's one of the credibilities that I would give to Eight. Is Eight was a very articulate Compton storyteller. All of his lyrics were vivid narrations of what he was experiencing, what he was going through in the city of Compton, which was basically relevant to any inner city, in LA or surrounding LA County environments. And he really painted a picture growing up in the hood, life of a straight up menace. I got to get over. All of these are realistic stories and things that we kind of deal with in a reality perspective. And then even myself, struggling from the inner city, you turn to hustling, you do all of these things. It's all based in trying to make a quality living. People don't say, oh, I'm gonna sell drugs because I want to do harm to my community. They kind of say, well, what other opportunities are there that pay me good wages, and hustling is one of those things that paid you quality wages to where you can say, damn, I really enjoy living life, because it costs money to travel, to venture out of the hood and to see other places and the other things. And so that's why I think telling those stories, a lot of kids seeing a glimpse of what life could be, and then you get an opportunity to explore it, then you want more of it.
So how do you keep your creative edge in making good quality beats such as yourself? I mean, like how you've been doing over the years.
Well, what I think, the technology has changed so much from when I came up originally as a producer. You literally had to curate your own sounds, everything from the ground up. Nowadays, you can buy a drum machine and the drum machine already have beats, loops, samples, everything in it. So the learning curve is it's just a it's totally different. It's the same thing of DJing. Uh, I grew up where you didn't have the digital opportunity, so you had to literally backspin the record and catch it and blow it in, and backspin on the other side and backspin it. Where now it's just you press a button and it's like instantly backspin. You press it instantly backspin. So uh, there are different ways to be creative. I'm not fronting on how far to technologically advance, but back then it was definitely more hands-on, that and it required a lot more creativity to be able to do things, because you didn't have the elements available to you. You had to create your own elements.
Do you think that's why production sounded more unique to each producer back then versus now?
100%. I just left an event today, and um, if you listen to production from back then, we were able to identify the producer just on the drum sounds. Uh, Marley Marl had signature drum sounds. Q-Tip had signature drum sounds. Premier had signature drum sounds. MC8. I was listening to the song, the beat, "Make the Music with Your Mouth Biz," and the kick it was a kick, but it had an 808 tied to it. To like right now, I would love to get the drum kit for "Make the Music with Your Mouth Biz" and then reproduce a song. I can make a song that's similar to that, and it wouldn't be a whole lot of work if I used the same drum sounds that was used on that particular song. So we sampled the James Brown and the Meters and a lot of the groups, and actually made drum kits based on those sounds. And then that became signature. And a lot of my signature drum sounds came from DJ Slip.
What advice would you give to a new producer trying to break in the game nowadays?
Uh, I would say to consider the producer is going to be the producer. I think a lot of it has to do more with the concept of the artist. Uh, when a producer produces, his part of his job is to find quality songs that are in a, I don't know, I want to say scheme or vibe that's conducive, or what I'm trying to say, um, continuity. You want an album to have continuity. That's what a producer's job is, because you don't want, oh, I got the first beat is hip hop, the second beat is rock, the third beat is R&B, the fourth beat is jazz, and then the album is all over the place. You want dope, consistent music, but you want it all to be able to flow together. And when you listen to albums like The Chronic and some of the earlier MC8 albums, it's actually a story. You have your intro, you go to your second song, your third song, and then you might have a commercial, and then it's an actual formula. It's a theme. The album has a concept, and then you go through there, and a lot of that has to do with the artist and the producer wanting to have continuity with the album.
What advice would you give to a young artist, or what mistake would you tell them they shouldn't make when they enter in the music industry?
My biggest thing is, if this is really what you want to do, believe in yourself and go hard. This, right now, it is really up to you. You know, obviously, I'm always going to preach a team. You can only go so far in life by yourself. You can't do everything. So the success of multi-million and billion-dollar companies are built on having a quality team. You have a person who is the visionary, who sees where you're at, where you need to go, and where you're going, and then you have the role players that assist in trying to get you there. My best analogy is if an artist, if he's the CEO or if he's an artist, uh, I use basketball as an analogy that you have the general, I mean, you have the owner. The owner hires the general manager and tell him to get a championship. The general manager hires a coach, tell him to get a championship, and the coach and his staff hires the players and you tell them to get you a championship. And then everything after that is based on creating, delivering, and evolving. And over the course of the season, you're going to have wins and losses. You want to have more wins than you have losses, and ultimately that leads to the championship. And then that could be a gold record or single, one hit or whatever it is. But it takes time and it takes cohesion, and it's very hard to accomplish all of that by yourself.
So what do Compton mean to you today compared to when you was younger? Or should I say, what do the West Coast mean to you today compared to when you was younger?
Well, we've had a lot of growth. Um, right now, um, I'll say you go back to the late 90s. I'll give Game a little validation in reference to prior to Games coming out, West Coast was, for the most part, Q, Dre, Pooh. You had to come from that echelon, and there was nothing else outside of the Q, the Dre, the Snoop, and all of that. I think um, Game was the first new artist to break out maybe after 95. And then the West Coast started kind of getting back on the mainstream. But you had from the earlier generations, you had one or two artists in LA, different parts of LA, and then um, that had somewhat of the gang influence, or Ice Cube blew up or Dub C blew up and they was from this neighborhood, or this, that, and the other, or Threat was from this neighborhood, or what have you. Now West Coast hip hop is, it's like, it's mainstream. You got gangster rappers and all of that stuff from every gang set now. You know what I'm saying? Hip hop is has evolved to, it used to be a handful of gangs to where now it's every gang has rappers.
So what inspired you to appear on the Bone with Friends podcast?
I have a artist who I started out with um, from the original days, Chili Chill. I must have met him like maybe 84, 85, and he was definitely a pioneer MC. Like if you ever seen the movie Wild Style, you have Busy Bee, Cold Crush Crew, and a lot of those pioneer East Coast rappers that was rapping in the late 70s. Well, I met Chili Chill through Jolly Joe, the Rapperteers, Jay Bird, and Cut. And then they had female MCs with their crew um, called the Rhymalettes. It was a rapper, her name was Peaches, was actually rapping with them. She later became Silky Fine. So, I worked with her in the early 80s, and she was like original rapper as well. But Chili Chill, I remember recording uh, a song with him and J. Joe. They was a group called the Two Gun Crew, and they had a song called what was the name of that song? Uh, Dang, it was just on my brain and it escaped me. But I helped record a song with Chili Chill, and now he's a comedian, actor. He's went on to do a lot of stuff, but he's definitely one of the reasons why I made certain type of people.
Man, thanks to Chili Mac the boss. I mean, you call him Chili Chill, we call him Chili Mac. That's the
Yeah,
same guy. I mean, he's an
yeah,
amazing dude. And I'm glad he linked us up, man, because you're a piece of West Coast legendary history. I mean, it
right,
don't get no better than CM Dub, and don't get no better than Rick Rock. Y'all produced the iconic sound that helped carved out what the West is today.
right.
So, what do you hope young listeners take away from the story that you just told?
Most importantly, is that you believe in yourself. The only limits in life are those you place on yourself or that you allow others to place on you. So that in itself means you have to push. Um, I believe in a philosophy called Stoicism, and it just deals with um, like pushing yourself through obstacles. And ideally, when you dread having to do something or don't like having to do something, more than likely that is something good and something you need to do. So that's where you need to start. So if you're like, man, I hate walking, then that's what you need to do. Or whatever it is that you hate, probably is something that you need to do. And in this music game, when you look at the Kobe's and the Mike Tysons, and you look at how did they achieve their success, it was all based in work ethic. If you have a terrible work ethic, your success is going to be fragmented and it'll take a long time. If you have an excellent work ethic, you'll be surprised at how fast you can grow in success. I have a personal formula that I created for myself called D times C equals S, which is the formula for success, and it's discipline times consistency equals success in anything you do. If you're disciplined and consistent, whatever it is you're trying to accomplish, you can achieve it. There's nothing that could stop that.
And that's an excellent philosophy, and that's a dope message to give to the youngsters. We're gonna go to another commercial break, and then I'm gonna come back with the final thought, and then we're gonna share your Instagram handles and how they can reach you on YouTube and Facebook and all those things.
All right, thank you, brother. It's been a pleasure, man. I was looking forward to this all day. I just was at an event with a legendary female rapper named Medusa. She has a birthday coming up. She's one of the West Coast generational.
Oh man, yeah! Shout out to Medusa and happy early birthday, Queen. All right, so we'll be right back after this commercial break with the final thought.
Big shout out to all our amazing customers who've already jumped on board the Compton in a box. Your support means the world to us. We've revamped our website to make it even easier to join the subscription. For upcoming months, don't miss out on the excitement. Head back to your cart on micpt.com and subscribe today. Let's make every month a Compton celebration. Compton in a box. Subscription perks. micpt.com Compton in a box. VIP experience appreciation. Head back to your cart on micpt.com.
To read a verse in a short story. Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. A little girl prayed one day for a door to open. It didn't. She was disappointed. Later, another opportunity came even better than the first one. And then she realized God don't say no. He just said, trust me. And I'd like to thank everybody for tuning in to Bone with Friends. This was a great show with the legendary DJ Master Rick Rock, one of the greatest West Coast producers. And we'll probably have him back on the show again with a follow-up, to see what he's doing. But Rick Rock, tell them how they can reach you on Facebook and Instagram, your social media handles.
I definitely have Facebook, DJ Master Rick Rock, at as DJ Master Rick Rock on Facebook. IG, I'm Rick Rock, and the numbers 115 RIC, like spell on the screen, RICROC 115. And my company is called No Foreplay Entertainment, and I'm re-releasing my label and projects and stuff. So No Foreplay, no FOREPLAY, Play Entertainment, No Foreplay Entertainment.
Okay, I'd like to thank everybody again for tuning in. And I just like to say, like the big Tweety Bird Loki used to always say, peace.
Mhm.